welcome to the week. I think you'll be watching this and it will be Tuesday, I do believe. But this is Midweek Conversations, and I'm Angelica, and this is...
And I'm Dennis.
And this is I'm Dennis. So welcome.
Fine, I'm Dennis Verda.
Oh, Dennis Verda. I'm Angelica Bear.
And we are River Hills Church.
Yes, we are the church.
We missed you on Sunday.
Yeah, I was a parishioner.
Oh, nice. So you got to experience church from the other side of the lens, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's still good that way. So.
You know, someone was commenting to me on Sunday. We were just talking after the message, and they said, I kind of get why we do the thing online, but sometimes I just don't get why we do the thing online. And I explained, you know, there are a lot of people whose very first entrance to church is through, I mean, most people today, their first entrance to our church and other churches is through the online experience.
Yeah.
And but it's also good to know that when you're not able to be at church, that you can participate in the life of the church, at least through the message and what happens on Sunday morning by being online.
Exactly.
So that's one of the reasons we do that, and we will continue to do it as long as we're able to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I love it. I know it's convenient for a lot of people, and of course it's, you know, the favorite is when you are able to come in here and like talk to people and drink coffee, but it's also okay if you're just at home watching.
Yeah. What really weirds me out is when someone watches the first service and then they show up for the second. I'm like, what are you doing? But it was so cool. It was a couple weeks ago, and a woman texted me after the first service, and she said, oh wow, we're coming to the second service, and I'm bringing my son because he has to hear this message. And it was about a struggle that they're having in their home school group, just trying to think through some issues, and she liked how what we were talking about applied to that.
That's cool.
But that's another thing, you know, just to be able to watch it and then invite someone else if you know that they're going through it, and it might not be coming to the church building, you know, for the second service, but being able to refer somebody to it. And when you're not recording, when you're not doing this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we used to have cassettes for our church service, and then it went to CDs, and then it went online, just audio.
You had cassettes of the service?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then, you know, reel to reel, you know, and then we had the old Victrola, and you'd have to speak into this big cone. And no. So no, the first memory that I have is with cassettes, and I do have some old cassettes of significant messages along the way.
Did you have like clay tablets before that?
Yeah, we'd chisel. Yeah.
Ooga booga.
Anyway, the growth of technology in the life of the church. I think it's important. So anyway,
that's
all
cool.
That because you watched it. As opposed to being here in person.
Yeah.
So was there anything that stood out for you from Sunday's message?
There was a lot of interesting things. I liked the announcements. That was fun, seeing you and David together on the platform. That was so funny. I was like, it's like a bit. It's like a comedy bit for the announcements. So that was funny. You guys were like riffing.
Maybe we should do that for a message sometime.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, because then you can like play off of each other. That's
I'd like to do a message with you sometime.
Yeah?
Because you don't get to see our before taping. There we go. Before we do this, we often have a conversation going anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, just talking about various subjects, and we really got into it today.
Yeah.
See if we have any juice left to do,
I know, we're just sitting here.
I'm like intellectually spent by the time I start.
I know, seriously. It's like, what do I want to talk about?
But what's cool is that if we have a really brilliant idea, you know, along the way, she is usually the one who has the brilliant ideas, and mine are. But then we can go back and listen to them and see. So, but in any case, the thing that we fear, however, is that there's going to be a takeout reel sometime.
Oh my goodness, that'd be like an hour long sometimes. I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
we get out of
you
control.
wiping your eye.
Oh my goodness, whatever. You'd have to call it out. Nobody would have even noticed.
I wonder how many times she wipes her eye during, and we
I know,
could have a
seriously.
compilation
I
of
think
every
I
eye
do
wiping.
that a lot.
Anyway, let's get to some meat.
Oh my goodness. See, this is why our videos are like 30 minutes. What did I find interesting? Well, of course I've been waiting since we started the Rebel series to look at when Jesus goes in and like flips the tables in the temple.
Because that's kind of the obvious
It's like the
rebel
quintessential
thing, right?
one.
Yeah.
You know, but there was like a different element of it that I think we got into a little more, maybe a little more of like his heart behind it, because it clearly wasn't just blind rage why he did that. And looking at like the time that he chose to do that, it's right after he rides in, right after the palms and all that.
Yeah.
Hosanna.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. I had not connected that in my brain, but it is. He rides in. Hosanna, Hosanna.
The entire city was in an uproar.
Yeah.
Who is this? The crowd's answer, it's Jesus, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. And Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out. I mean, it's
right
it's
then.
the very next thing, yeah.
So that's what I think that was a really interesting part of it. It's like, I always feel like it must have been so strange for him knowing like what was going to happen to him, knowing that, you know, he was going to the cross, and then entering in and having all these people cheer for him and like celebrate him and like be smiling in his face, knowing that like hours later they would be like kicking him and spitting on him and like denying that they knew him. Like, what? Like, that's so crazy.
4 or 5 days later, they're calling for his death.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you're like, one day, like, you keep going, there's that day and there's that day. But to him, in his mind, like, you know, you got to be working yourself up to that moment. So it's got to feel like all these people are going to, like, switch like that. Like, a week is not that long to change your mind from like, this person is my savior, to like, I'm going to kill this person, I want him dead. That's not that long,
right,
to make that whole decision. And I mean, for that, all of that that's on him, I mean, there's actually some restraint in the way that he goes in and drives the birds and everything out of the temple, because he could have really been like, you know what, I'm over it. You guys are like a lost cause. He could have really let it all go, but I think there was no instant gratification with him. Like, he knew that like, if he just burns this whole thing to the ground right now, like, what's the point of that? And that's not like love for these people. That doesn't help him in the long run. So what? The next generation just grows up again and they end up in the same place. And what did that help? That you burned the first one down. Mm-hmm. Like, it didn't help. It doesn't solve the problem.
Well, it doesn't seem to me that he, I think your point is that he wasn't burning it down.
Yeah.
Right? But what's interesting, as I'm listening to you, you know, a lot of times I'm thinking that we have to answer the question, why did Jesus have to die? Now, I'm looking at the mechanism of how he died, and it was aggravating the priests, the Pharisees, the political leaders, and they're the ones who put him to death. And you can see how this event would have pushed them over that edge. But what you don't really see is what pushes the crowd over the edge, right? Mm-hmm. And are they following, is it just this mob mentality and they're following a few leaders or what? I really need to look at that and answer that question before Good Friday. I think that would be good.
That'd be really cool, because it is weird, isn't it?
It is totally.
Hundreds of people, like what? Seconds ago, it feels like. I mean, I know that's like days, but so quick, you know. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And I think even in him, in his actions and yelling at them in the temple and being like, don't make this place a den of robbers, he's like, What was the word you, Oleka? Oleka? Woe
Oi
to,
leka. So
Oi
oi,
leka.
oi vey, woe is me.
Yeah, woe is
and
me,
then
and then
oi
woe to
leka,
you.
woe to you.
So it was that, and so it still wasn't in this like, you know, mobster mentality, this type of like dictator, you know, guy. He was being like, you guys, like, what are you doing?
Right.
You're really hurting yourself in the long run. Like, you're really not making this easy. And how are all of you in here in the temple, all of you people who ought to know better, acting like this? Really? Come on. Like, it's really being like, I'm just really disappointed in you, it feels like, which is almost worse sometimes than somebody just being mad at you. Somebody's just mad at you, you're like, well, I'm going to be mad back. But when somebody's disappointed in you, you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? You know? And you can imagine that he's hoping that they have that sort of repentant heart moment. Yeah, but of course they don't.
Right.
They just get mad.
So just to place the context for those of you who might be viewing who didn't hear the message yet, but it's kind of important to go back and listen to the message and then listen to this.
Yeah.
But oy vey, you might be familiar with that. It's that Jewish term which means woe is me. And oy leka is referring to what Jesus would have said if he were speaking Hebrew or Aramaic in Matthew 23 when he addresses the priests directly and he says, woe to you, or as the New Living Translation translates it, what sorrow awaits you. And he's not cursing them so much as he's saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. If you follow this course in your ministries, in your teaching, this is what's going to happen. And maybe I already answered now in my own mind the question of what happened with the people who were cheering him on Palm Sunday and calling for his death on Thursday night, Friday morning. And that is kind of the logical extension of the behavior of the priests. As the leaders go, so does the flock, so does so do their followers. And so kind of follows along with these oy leka, these woes, these what sorrow awaits you. You know, when he says in the second one, you cross the sea to make one convert. This is Matthew chapter 23, verse 15. You hypocrites, for you cross the land and sea to make one convert, and then you turn that person into twice the child of hell you yourselves are.
Ugh.
And so the priests weren't necessarily calling for the death as much as the crowds were calling for the death. And it seems to me that's a fulfillment of what Jesus is even saying here. You follow me? So this is just the logical consequence of your behaviors, priests, that look, now your people are calling for the death of an innocent man.
Yeah, they're watching you and what you're doing.
So
that reminds me of when Jesus is talking about I am the real shepherd of the flock, and you know there's like all these other hired hands, but they don't really care about the flock, and I really care about it, type thing. And so, yeah, the Pharisees in this situation, like if a wolf really comes, they're like, oh, I'll see you later. Like we're not really going to be there. But Jesus is there the whole time, and is trying to lead his flock to the right direction, even when the Pharisees aren't. That's so interesting. Oh, and there's another, I don't remember if that's the New Testament, but it's like, fear not, little flock, for the Lord your God is with you. I think that might be in a psalm. But that always, it's like, it can be so sweet thinking of like all these Christ followers like as a flock, but then it's also so necessary that, you know, we are following the shepherd and not just like, oh, any which way, you know,
the blind leading the blind.
The blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
Anything that like seems to be a powerful message today, I'm just going to follow that. Like, oh my goodness, you guys, like, and that's why, you know, it took only, you know, a few days for them to be calling for Jesus to die because they were not focused at all. They were just like ready to be taken by any idea.
Right.
Like not discerning.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we'll build on that on Maundy Thursday. It's our community Good Friday service on Thursday evening, which is called Maundy Thursday in the history of the church. And we're going to be doing that at 6:30.
6:30 p.m.
At Leola Hall in Prairie du Sac, which is attached to the River Arts Center, attached to the high school.
Yes.
And I hope you can join us there. And then we're going to be having a community Good Friday service.
Yes.
Community Easter service, at the same location on Sunday, Easter Sunday at 9 a.m. So that's when we get to celebrate the resurrection.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's so much that goes on during this week, and it's such an emotional roller coaster.
It is.
And if you read along Matthew 21 through the end of Matthew, it's a great ride to be on during this week, because it really shows you a lot about what Jesus was trying to teach. And the parables of the kingdom are particularly poignant in this passage. And the priests take great offense at Jesus' teaching.
Yeah.
So you might just consider reading those chapters in Matthew 21, 22, 23, 24, and see what Jesus was teaching to kind of make both Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter all the more poignant. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Is that my phone or your phone dinging in the background? I think it's
mine.
probably mine, but oh well.
I think it is yours.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's okay.
Anything else for us to, oh, I know. Our children's ministry has a big thing going on here. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 o'clock until noon.
Yes.
And if you have kids, grades K through 5, we are doing a little experiment with a vacation Bible school, as it has traditionally been called. We're calling it the Spring Break Escape. And it's an escape for parents, get away from the kids by sending them here. It's an escape for the kids to get away from the parents and coming over here.
Yes.
And we got some cool stuff planned. And
music, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah. And are you leading some music? Is that what I heard?
Well, I'm a part of the music. I wouldn't call myself a leader in it, but I'm in the band.
Nice. Nice. Well, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this with me again, and thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah.
And we look forward possibly to seeing you either in person or online this coming weekend.
Yeah.
So have a great week. Bye now.